Maurice?
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Hmm.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice background, Maurice.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's an old picture. Yeah, and there we have Liz. I'm glad you decided to join us, Miss Kukla.
Hey, you know what? I'm running an office here. I have phone calls and emails.
I'm not going to make any comments.
We're more important right now, Liz, than your emails.
How's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said we're more important than your emails right now, Liz.
I know. Hey, I made it on time. That's all that matters.
4 minutes to spare.
It's 6 minutes on my clock.
Well, I'm in Delaware, so, we're on a different time zone. It's off by 3 minutes.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
they need to get that together then.
Are we expecting everybody today, Liz?
Yeah, I haven't heard otherwise. Oh, except Tim. He did tell us last week that he wouldn't be here.
Oh, Tim's not here again? Okay.
Yeah. So we have to wait on
Marlene.
Arlene.
I mean, we have to wait till 9:30 anyway, so.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can anyone hear me? I
Yes,
think
we
I'm
can hear
having
you.
Problems connecting.
We can hear you, but I don't think you can hear us.
I'm going to log out and reconnect.
Liz, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes, I
thank
can
you.
hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, very good. I'll just mute now.
Alana, are you okay with pulling double duty again today?
Hear you. I thought maybe you were somewhere.
No problem, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, I gotta go. All right, bye.
Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning. And it's a beautiful morning.
It is. Liz, did you see the email this morning for the first case?
Of course I do.
Okay.
And Alana, since Councilman Brancatelli is here, we'll start with his case.
I'm already queued up for that.
All right, way to be on it.
Actually, would be starting with his case anyway, because the first case is postponed.
Oh, that's a secret.
Well,
Yeah,
we
I
just
was
got-
just gonna say that. That's a secret.
We just got the request this morning. I figured we should
It literally
announce
came in a
it.
few minutes ago.
We should announce it after we call to order.
I just couldn't help myself, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it helps the person reading the cases to know this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we just got that this
Good
morning.
morning. Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you
Yes.
loud and clear.
I
Can
can't
you hear us?
anybody. I don't know
Oh,
why.
no.
I would say try calling in, but I don't think he can hear us.
Do we see anybody?
I have 9:30.
So do I. All right, Liz, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to read the preamble this morning on July 26, 2021. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop in the mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or the facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comments on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Could you call the roll, please?
Sure thing. Mr. Donovan will be out this morning. We have Ms. Barnes,
Barnes present.
Ms. Faith,
Present.
Ms. Britt.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And I just want people to know that we only have 3 members today, so you are allowed to postpone if you like until we get a full complement. However, we won't have a full complement for a while, so that decision is definitely on you. All right, go ahead, Liz.
And thank you, Madam Chair. We do have one request for postponement this morning, calendar number 21-107. I apologize that there's no notes on the screen. It came in this morning from the city. They request more time to do some investigating.
All righty, without objection, board.
Without objection.
Let's give it August 23rd.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think go ahead with our first case.
All right. We're starting today with calendar number 21-018 at 6806 Harvard Avenue. TMS Enterprises owner proposes to change the use from multifamily dwelling to used car lot in a D2 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. Oh, I have to do my second job now. All those making testimony for this case, I am going to read an oath. Upon completing the reading of that oath, your response is "I do," and you'll be asked to state your name and your address one at a time clearly for the recorder. At this point, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do swear or affirm that the testimony I am about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Kurt Weaver, 2008 Valentine Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you, Kurt. Who's next?
I do, Councilman Tony Brancatelli, 6924 Ottawa.
I do, Nicole Calhoun, City Planning Commission.
I do, Chris Alvarado, representing Slavic Village Development, 5620 Broadway Avenue.
So how do we get in? Can anybody hear on this end? We're having audio problems.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
We have you on the speakerphone and on the computer. The computer doesn't seem to have audio, but I have Thomas Sullivan behind me who's going to swear for testimony.
I do. Thomas Sullivan, 31637 Newberry, Avon Lake, 44012.
Is that everyone? Okay, thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Actually,
Thank
no,
you.
it's not everyone. Steve Ciceretto and Casey Marks, and I think Matt Shields here too need to swear as well.
Is this all for the Harvard case?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll need addresses for those individuals, please.
They have to take themselves off mute and talk.
Okay.
Hey, this is Casey Marks. We're on the Herman and 74th case. Should we swear in now?
No,
I'll swear
this
you
is
in.
only for the Harvard case right now.
This is only for 21-018 at 6806 Harvard Avenue. Is that everyone for this case?
Yeah, my apologies. I misunderstood. Thanks.
Yes, we will
That's
swear.
fine.
We will swear in people with each individual case. Is our normal protocol. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I believe we have everyone for this case now.
Great, thank you. On to history, please, Ms. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In November 6th of last year, this parcel was changed to multifamily. In our Building and Housing Records Administration office, in 1908, a permit was issued to erect a one-story, quote, milk house. In 1891, a permit was issued to erect a two-story new dwelling on the property. And in 1906, a permit was issued to erect a two-story barn. There were no variances on file for this address. And in the more recent history in our Acela system, in October of last year, a permit was issued to demolish a two-story single family dwelling and garage. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such as there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Can we get a quick summary, please, Maurice?
Yes, Madam Chair. So this case is primarily a use variance for putting a used car lot in a multifamily district. They've also been cited for not showing customer parking on the site plans, and also they need to provide details on the paving and draining of the lot.
All right, thank you. So who's going to be the spokesperson for this case?
Good morning, Kurt Weaver, architect. I'd like to start, if I may. I just wanted to explain a couple of things about the property. There are actually two parcels. I believe it's been consolidated at this time. The parcel to the east was vacant, and there was a garage pad that was in the back that has since been removed. The parcel to the west is the parcel that had the two-story single-family home that was removed. And we believe the small structure that exists in the back is the milk house that Ms. Kukla referred to as being permitted in, I think, what did you say, 1906 or thereabouts? We
1908.
We submitted an original site plan. Maurice showed the three plans. We had an original site plan that was done initially back, and that was our submittal in February of 2021. And then when we received the comments from the zoning review, we made an adjustment to that to that site plan, which is the second site plan, which is dated 27 April. And the detail of which will show you like basically how much green space was continuing to be added to the project and reducing the amount of paving that was involved. We are now at the third iteration of this plan, and we actually do show customer parking in the center of the lot, which it amounts to being the 25% required. There are 7 spaces and they are striped. And the lot has one catch basin that the entire lot is drained to. So there is drainage and there is customer parking and there is striping of the customer parking. That is not the correct site plan.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
If we could go to the third one, which is on the single one on the single page.
Yeah, for some reason, this is not showing up properly. If you'll give me just one quick second, I'll bring up your original.
Or the SD31 drawing, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Maurice.
Sure, just one second.
Are you saying as of your new drawings that you're only looking for the use permit now because you've met the other requirements?
That is correct. Our interpretation is that we're only asking for the variance on item 1. Of course, we would want to ensure that our interpretation aligns with city planning's interpretation and the planning review, the zoning review. So, yes.
Mr. Weaver,
So
is
that is harder to see on here because there's not the green that shows you that the pavement is in essence an island surrounded by green space with the exception of the apron where you come into the property. And then the spaces are literally right down the center of the parking area. There's 7 of them there and they're striped. Boy, that's horrible to see on my screen.
Yeah, it doesn't show up very well. I've zoomed in as best I can. I can zoom in a little bit more. Maybe that will help.
That's not bad. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right down the center that have the striping left and right of them. The milk house is to the lower right, and the catch basin is pretty much right there in the center with everything draining to it. You can see that there's a front yard setback 10 feet, there's a side yard setback 10 feet, there's a rear yard setback 10 feet, and another side yard setback 10 feet. And in the front, we of course have the ornamental fence with some landscaping.
Yes. So, Ms. Kukla, so were these new plans submitted after the write-up was done? Is that why?
Yes, that's correct. Building and Housing has not, I don't believe Building and Housing has reviewed this for an updated notice of nonconformance. I'm not sure if they would need to, as the appellant is stating, or the appellant's representative is stating, that they are going to meet the code on everything but the use. So we can just eliminate all of those if we do decide to approve it today.
Right,
It will be up to you.
Okay, I just wanted to get the timeline correct. All right, that's fine. Okay, so there were a lot of names flying. Is there anyone else that wants to speak before
Madam
I call
Chair?
on? Yes.
Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Riccardi with his hand raised.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Riccardi.
And you're muted, Rick. There you go.
Yes, I would just state that it's not just a setback that's required on the sides. It is landscaping that provides screening. So those 2 items that were cited are correctable. Obviously, they can be added to the site plan. This doesn't necessarily do it for the landscaping transition strips that are required. And I mean, I'm sure they could probably provide enough customer parking. I don't know if what they have provided equates to 25% of the gross square footage of the lot or not. So that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riccardi. Who else do we have, Maurice? Anyone else?
I believe we have James Zafiro. Go ahead,
James,
James.
you have something to say?
We're not hearing you, sir. Are you muted? It's *6 to unmute on the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
We're having audio problems. I apologize.
we understand.
Thank you, board and Ms. Brancatelli for hearing us today. Mr. Riccardi for being present. My whole goal here in the beginning was just to build something that would beautify the area and was conforming with what the codes were for general retail when I bought the property, which happened right as COVID started. I think the city, and as we know, basically the world stopped. And I don't think many residential permits were pulled, if any, in this area. And at this point, I've invested a lot to get here, just to build something that is going to beautify the area. That's my neighborhood all the way back to my grandparents. Just as at one period when the milk house was built, it served a purpose, and zoning didn't have to change for the milk house to be obsolete one day. The window for this car lot is, although it's not the best that the city likes to see or automotive uses, it's just a nice property change that is probably going to only have a 10-year window before the business changes enough on its own that these small car lots are going to be obsolete in the city. But for now, if the city doesn't grant this, what's happened is it's changed the property that has roughly $40,000 invested to get here just to make it useful to being worth basically nothing. As you see in the pictures, the house next to it has been boarded up for years, should be torn down. I think it just changed hands. These properties that keep getting purchased by the land bank and, then they're sold for real development for very little cost. And there's plenty of residential lots in our neighborhood over here to build with. In fact, a couple of years, I am a residential home builder. I have another home breaking ground right now in the suburb. I contacted Mr. Brancatelli just over 2 years ago about obtaining lots in that neighborhood and building homes over there. I think if I'm asking the city to grant this, because if it doesn't, it makes the value of my property now worth the same value of these lots are basically given away for $100 or $500 that I started with at the sheriff's sale, a lot more than that at $12,000. And if I wish we had a picture of what it looked like before I bought it. The previous owner had dug footers 30 foot by 30 foot by 30 foot off of that milk house, and they'd sat open for 2 years. That was not only didn't look good, but it presented a hazard to anyone that would try to walk through the property. You'd have to jump over a 6-foot trench to get through it. My whole intention is to make a useful property that employs a few people and lets me expand. In my looking at it as a individual development, imagine just if every one of these commercial storefronts or commercial properties just were open and employed one person and the owner. I mean, it's good for our city. People spend money in our neighborhoods. People don't have to go to steel yards to travel or the suburbs to travel. You know, my goal in the beginning and my goal today is just to build a business that looks good aesthetically and provides a service for the community.
Okay, thank you. I'll move over to the CDC now, Mr. Alvarado.
Hi, yes, Chris Alvarado, Executive Director at Slavic Village Development. First of all, I will say that, regardless of what the finding is of this hearing, that we will, of course, be happy to work with Mr. Zaviro and Mr. Sullivan and their team, both with this property, but also with any other kinds of development that they're looking at in the neighborhood. We've been very fortunate to see over the last several years, not just in this past year in which housing values have been skyrocketing, but we had been showing some very steady and important improvement in the property values of homes in Broadway Slavic Village. So we've, for example, seen renovated home prices and appraisals, more importantly, going up 50% from 2014 until 2020. And so this is a neighborhood in which residential development is on the uptick, and there's more interest in doing infill housing. We're frankly against this particular, these particular use on this particular area, just because pretty much from East 68th Street to 71st, there is, that stretch of Harvard has been primarily residential. I mean, it did have a lot of these legacy businesses that are right up on the up to the sidewalk. But this is not a neighborhood that has a lack of used car lots. That seems to be something that's very popular. We'd rather not see another used car lot, but if this is approved, we will of course work with the team on making sure that this is something that looks good and is successful.
Great, thank you. I'll move on to the planner, Ms. Calhoun.
Madam Chair, we do have Rick Riccardi with his hand raised.
Oh, Mr. Riccardi, is that the same hand or you got something new?
No, that was from before.
Okay. All righty. Go ahead, Calhoun.
Yes, Madam Chair, do you mind if I hold my comment until Councilman Brancatelli speaks?
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
Councilman, go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is Liz.
Yes.
I do have a letter of opposition from Gail Glam. She lives at 6924 Ottawa Road. She writes that she is writing to voice her opinion or opposition to the proposed car lot. There is already one car lot closer to the business district on Harvard. The 6806 location is within a more residential area of Harvard, including a small park across the street, surrounding houses, and a senior apartment. It is bad enough that TMS Inc. already tore down a house in mature trees. Please do not allow a car lot to further reduce the residential area. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman.
Thank you. Liz, did you get some other emails as well? I was CC'd on some.
I believe this is the only one that I received. I could double check. Do you have any of the names of the people that sent them?
There was, I have an email from Monet Lassiter. Good morning, I am the owner of 6815 Harvard. She's the adjacent owner. I received a letter stating that someone wants to put a car lot across the street from my house. This is not something I would want. There's already a lot of traffic on Harvard. There's a sharp curve right before my house, and I already have to deal with people almost hitting my house in the wintertime when it's slippery outside. If they put a car lot that will increase traffic on this corner and possibly increase crime in our neighborhood, and we already have, I do not think it's a good idea. I'm asking that this not happen. If possible, can you tell me what to do to help make sure that this does not happen? She has her contact information here. And it was CC'd to you, but I could forward it again.
Yeah, whatever emails you got, just make sure Ms. Kukla gets them for our record, please.
Okay, and then I have another one from Tamara Peoples. I'm ready to voice my opposition in the proposal car lot at 6806 Harvard. There's already one car lot closer to the business district. The 68 location is more a residential area of Harvard, including small park across the street, surrounding houses and senior apartments. It's bad enough that TMS already tore the house down and mature trees. Please do not allow this car lot to further reduce our residential neighborhood. So, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick comments and a little follow-up on what Mr. Sullivan had said. I'm not sure how a used car lot beautifies the area, but it certainly does not in some of our eyes. He also noted that he thought this met code before, and it did not meet code even before the pandemic. That general retail, the district first permitted in general retail business district if 100 feet from residential district. It's not 100 feet from a residential district. So the back property lines and side property lines were residential, so it did not meet code previously. He also noted that there was no new construction permits in this area, which is just not true. We built over 50 new homes in the last few years throughout the neighborhood. So we are building new homes. We are seeing vibrancy in the new construction market. And as Director Alvarado stated, we're also starting to see property increases. And then he also noted that the house next door is boarded up, and as testimony from the house next door, that's a brand new home from that resident who opposes this. It is not boarded up. It's a beautiful new home with a fenced-in lot. I do respect the opinion of many of our neighbors regarding the concerns around a used car lot going in. And then just the other point on this, where a number of residents who had raised concerns early, this was a 1800s home that was demolished without a permit. And the only attempt to pull a permit was after an inspector visited and cited them for not having a permit. Just to go ahead and say, I invested $40,000. Well, you invested $40,000 without getting the appropriate permits, without cause for getting the appropriate zoning and understanding of the zoning. And even though Mr. Sullivan is an experienced used car property owner and experienced builder, he chose to do it without getting permits and would have known that before he made the decisions. And he made them knowingly of what this district was. So there is absolutely no support for a used car lot here. I vehemently oppose a used car lot going in here. And that garage sitting in the back that was not demolished is in fact condemned. And he chose not to demolish that property and continues to sit there and be a nuisance in our community. And it's accessory use. You cannot keep that garage there. It must be demolished as well.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you can see, there was not much in collaboration done with this lot. This is the first time that I saw the actual plan for the lot. And my name is actually on the zoning when you pull it up. My email and my phone number is there as well. We like to make sure that we listen to the neighbors because they have to live here. He said he lived in suburbia, and I would ask him to see or ask his neighbors in suburbia, would they like a car lot right next to them, literally. We already have one hop, skip, and not even a jump away. I think this is an injustice to the people that live in the neighborhood. As you can see, his lot is already, this picture is worth 1,000 words to me, so I won't belittle or begrudge the context of what we're talking about. It is nestled literally within the residential area. This is not the best use for this land. And to just really touch bases with the fact that the home that was there was demolished without permission, to me shows that maybe the applicant should contact the CDC within their newly acquired land and actually find out exactly what the uses were and what the city's use were for this property. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Calhoun. Any questions, board, before I kick it back to the appellant?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have we have the applicant with his hand raised, and also Mr. Weaver.
Yes, I saw that. I just wanted to know if my board has any questions before we go back to him.
No questions, Madam Chair. Testimony seems pretty straightforward.
Alrighty, okay. James, would you like to speak again?
We can't hear you. Still can't.
How's that?
Yep.
That better? I
Yes.
just want to put
Yes.
on the record that the appellant received his letter from the Slavic Village Business Development Officer on August 12th, 2020.
Okay, sir,
stating-
I'm sorry, sir, who are you?
I'm the attorney for the appellant. I
Okay, can you
apologize.
say, can
James
you say your
Zafiro.
name, please? Okay,
James Zafiro.
okay,
And the letter indicated there was going to be a meeting before a public meeting before the Planning Commission, and notice would be sent out. And we did not get any record of that meeting and are curious as to whether that meeting actually went forward prior to the change. And Mr. Sullivan would like to also respond to some of the comments that were made.
okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair, just was wondering if Mr. Zafiro was sworn in with everyone else?
I was not sworn in. I was just putting it on the record as attorney.
He's an
If you'd like
attorney,
to, I
so
will.
Very good.
don't have to. Okay, Mr. Sullivan, would you like to address anything, very briefly, though?
Yeah, very briefly, the city didn't answer the phone when I bought the property. The city shut down. There was no live operator. Mr. Brancatelli's right. I've done this for 20 years, built many houses and commercial properties. That wasn't an intentional decision. What happened is I bought the place, and Mr. Brancatelli's been copied in everything that's gone along. And the previous owner attempted to burn the house down in anger of the city that he claimed stole the property for absorbent fees for cutting the lawn. But and then secondly, the house that is directly next to it is the house in the back that's all boarded up and has been boarded up for years. It's been boarded up for more than 2 years that I know of. The other person that said, if you know, in suburbia, if you go and you'd ask your neighbors, I'm not asking the neighbors on Ottawa or one of the other streets where it's all residential to put this in. This is on Harvard Avenue. I mean, it right next door is a vacant lot. Across the street is, I mean, the person said the park. It's green space, but it's not a usable park. I've never seen someone use it as a park in the years I've been there, and I go to Holy Name every week. The goal is to beautify the property. If anyone looks at what that property looked like beforehand, the house had been condemned for years. It was boarded up, and it did nothing for the property. And I'm not saying one day down the road I might not redevelop it into housing when there is a demand for that. But right now, there's more of a demand for a used car lot than there is for houses on that particular property.
Okay, thank you. I see other people have their hand raised.
And one more thing.
Very brief, Mr. Sullivan, very brief.
Okay, very briefly. I emailed Marilyn Masinski immediately when I got the letter of Broadway Slavic Group, the Slavic Village Group, interest in changing the zoning, and have got no reply still to this day. I wanted to be part of that meeting. If no one in the city has made me part of anything, and I have 30 or 40 emails sent out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I see people have hands raised. I don't want to get into a whole back and forth between who said what and when exactly. However, if the attorney did bring up a point that there was supposed to be a community meeting, so I just need someone to respond to that point of whether.
Yes, I can speak to that, Madam Chair.
Okay,
Yes, there was a public meeting. We had numerous meetings up and down Harvard Avenue, as we did 3 specific zoning changes along the entire Harvard corridor. We kept our planner, Ms. Calhoun, pretty busy for quite some time, and our staff for mailing out notices. Everyone was appropriately mailed, notified, and most all those meetings were all done at Zoom. Whether they chose to participate or not, I can't speak to that, but all the appropriate mailings were done. We had 3 separate meetings along the entire corridor, multiple meetings. So that was done as we did the zoning change. And as I stated earlier, it was not even conforming prior to the zoning change. So they still would have needed a variance for it. Thank you.
thank you. I see Kurt has his hand raised. Do you have anything new to add in response?
Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to respond to Mr. Riccardi's comments. We're happy to add additional landscaping to the buffer areas that we've created. That's certainly not an issue or a problem for us to be able to accommodate that. And I also wanted to acknowledge or maybe call to attention that when we submitted to the board for this appeal, we provided both my own AKW short brief history since our involvement and a history that Mr. Sullivan had crafted since he had obtained the property. And during that time, after I had started into the fall, we were very much, it was very much on our mind to engage with the community and with the councilman and with the Development Corporation. But frankly, they were not interested in responding or engaging with us. It appears that the councilman was spending his time with the planning department changing the zoning at that time. So they must not have had time for us. So thank you.
Okay, board, any questions, concerns?
No, Madam Chair.
If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if, in light of the testimony from city planning and the neighbors and the councilman, if the appellant wishes to pursue this variance request. If we rule on this, you know, it would limit his use of the land going forward.
I don't think it would limit it, actually. He just, if he wants to do something else different, he just have to come back. So,
Okay.
I think we need to rule on this. And then if he wants to, you know, withdraw and try something different, then I would, you know, I would entertain that. But if he wants to keep with this case here, we need to make a ruling.
Well, that's my question. Does he want to withdraw or does he want to proceed?
Mr. Sullivan?
May we respond?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to proceed as we have, and I'd like to, you know, note that basically it would result in the city of taking of my property and in rendering it useless.
Without compensation.
With no compensation. With no compensation.
Okay, thank you. Miss Faith, he has testified he would like to proceed.
Okay. With that in mind, Madam Chair, given the testimony, the objections from the residents adjacent to the property, the testimony from city planning, the testimony from the councilman, and the fact that the existing structure was demolished without permit, I move that we deny this variance.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please, Ms. Kukla.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar 21-108 is denied. It'll be ratified next week and we will send you a letter.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
next,
moving on.
yes, next case. Yes.
All right, calendar number 21-110 at 3133 Payne Avenue. Can I Group LLC owner proposes to establish use as a bar with 15 space accessory parking lot in a C3 local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. Could I have all people that are wishing to make statements for case number 21-110? Raise your right hand. I'm going to read the oath. Your response to the oath is I do, followed by stating your name and your address. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Bin Zhang, 3353 Saratoga Boulevard, Stowe, Ohio, 44224.
Is there anyone else for this case?
This is Kara Singh. I'm with Midtown Cleveland, 5000 Euclid Avenue. I do as well.
Is there anyone else? Okay, Madam Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much. History of the property, please, Ms. Copeland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929. The current local retail business district was established in 1991. In the Records and Administration office, we found that in 1978, a permit was issued to erect a one-story masonry Lawson's grocery store and asphalt parking. There are no variances on file, and in the more recent history in our Acela system, we found that there were yearly food licenses between 2005 through 2018. That's all that I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking, screening, and landscaping requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Maurice?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is primarily a case about parking requirements. They are required to have 23 spaces. They are proposing 11, I believe, although there is a discrepancy in the write-up, so I'm not sure if they're proposing 11 or 15. And then we're also looking at the 2 landscape transition strips.
Great, thank you. Who's the spokesperson for this case?
And we have Ben.
Ben?
Did you hear me?
Hear you
Yes.
now.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Ben. I'm the managing owner of the Hanai LLC. What I'm trying to do is trying to open a Mango, which is modern Asian dessert shop. It used to be a vacant convenience store and it's been vacant for years. And we're trying to bring it up and make it good for the neighborhood and good for the Asian communities. We have about 11 parking spots in the area, as you can see in the site plan, and that's the maximum we can have. But we do have plenty of street parkings on the East 32nd Street and Payne Avenue. And on the whole road, we have the most parking spots of any restaurant out there. And 2, for the landscaping in between the industrial and my property, there's already 4 feet of landscape grass, weeds on the ground. The last owner, they did not take care of the party at all. there's weeds, grass growing everywhere. Since we bought it in May, we cut the stuff down and make it better right now, but it's not, we haven't done enough yet because of the zoning variance. Another one is the frontage strip area. The zoning requires us to have a transition strip of 6 feet. We're proposing either a fence, aluminum commercial fence, or the one we have in the garage. If you have anything more than that, it will compromise the parking lots. You will have less of parking spots. And then lastly, the last variance I would like to appeal is the back from the residential area to my area, my property. The property lines going to other property is like really narrow and goes wide in the back. From the street, I submitted some a couple pictures and I did some measurements. The narrowest part is only 8 feet and 2 inches from the neighborhood area. So if I put a landscape of 8 feet, I have no room to walk at all. So I'm proposing a chain link fence where it's they already chain link fence there right now. I'm just reconnecting and updating it, the fence. And that's my proposal. Thank you.
Are you saying you're gonna replace the chain link fence with the chain link fence?
Yeah, but they already chain link fence there, but the last owner did not take care of the property at all. There's some fences falling apart, some pieces missing. I'm proposing either replace all of it or like reconnect.
Okay, so you're proposing to put a fence instead of landscaping?
For the back of the parking of the
back.
Yes, because if I put 8 feet of a landscape, there's no walkway at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question for Ben. I see on the plan, it says existing 6-foot tall masonry wall separate from 2 family zones.
Yes,
Is that still there?
my architect made a mistake. There's no masonry wall at all. I even took a
I was
picture.
going to say that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I know.
That would be the best case scenario.
That's the greatest buffer ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but she made a mistake, and then it was too late. But if I took some pictures of the back of the property, and there's no masonry wall, and there is chain link fence right there. But if with a landscape, nobody can walk back there at all, not even for maintenance. So it's not even possible.
Okay, Ben, and this might be to Ms. Kukla as well. You're saying it's a dessert shop. Will you be selling alcohol?
No, it's not a bar. It's just a fast cash dessert shop.
Okay, so that's where I'm a little confused here. With the write-up says it's going to be a bar.
I have no idea why it's there either, but it is there right now. It's just like crepes, waffles, freshly made smoothies, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's fast
Smoothie, so a smoothie bar, but not
exactly.
Okay.
Nothing alcohol.
All right. Was there anyone else that you had with you today, Ben?
Yes, Carrie Zhang from the Midtown community.
Right. Paris, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I just wanted to speak on behalf of Midtown Cleveland. I am the director of Asiatown Initiatives and have been in communication with Ben about this project. And just wanted to reflect, we published information and spread it out to our stakeholders and community members about the proposed project. And there's a lot of excitement. As been mentioned, this has been a vacant property for some time. And since he's taken ownership of the property, they've really cleaned it up a lot. And there's a lot of excitement to see this new business coming to Payne Avenue. In regards to the variance, we've written in support of the parking variance, particularly because of the existing space with the renovation of the existing building. Additionally, I do think there is an abundance of street parking around, as well as other parking lots around the site. So I don't think parking would be a problem, particularly for kind of the quick bites, fast pickup type style that I think this business would be. I will also add, I think Ben did mention, but some of the landscaping buffers, the one is existing to the west side of the site. And I think that when the variance came back, he did do what he could to add a little bit of landscaping or fencing just to create, add to the intent of the buffer around the parking in a way that I think kind of matches other businesses along Payne Avenue with that commercial grade fence, or just even a smaller landscaping strip than is the 6 feet. But I think it is in, the proposal is in line with other businesses on the street as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. City planning?
Yes, Madam Chair. We think this is actually a really good reuse of this existing building. We have these kinds of vacant buildings all over the city, and it would be really great to see a use like this going in here. My only comment would be that I would rather see a board-on-board fence in the rear as opposed to chain link separating the two, but that's my only comment. Everything else we are perfectly, we find acceptable. There is ample parking in the area. And if he ever did need more additional parking, there's the lots that are across from former Dave's, which maybe something could be worked out. But I think this is a really good proposal.
Thank you. Ben, did you hear that? Would you be open to doing board-on-board fencing in the rear?
Yes, I'm open to that. I'm open to fencing in the front or do shops in the front or whatever to get this deal done.
Wonderful. Thank you. Board, any questions?
With the appellant's agreement to doing a board-on-board fence in the back, I think that's the only concern we had, Madam Chair. So I'd be prepared to make a motion that on calendar number 21-110 that we go ahead and approve these variances.
Okay. Liz, call the roll, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is noting that the revised language is that we are establishing use as a restaurant with 11 parking spaces.
Yes.
That discrepancy language will be omitted from the resolution. So I'll call the roll. Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes, and you can, yes, and tell them I said it's a smoothie bar, not an alcoholic bar.
Oh, and do we want to see that revised drawing with the board-on-board fence?
Yes, I think so, because then his architect can remove that there's a wall there, so we won't be confused about that in the future. So you got that, Ben? Just give us some new drawings without the wall and showing you'll put board-on-board fencing in the rear.
So, Madam Chair, this case is granted pending those revised drawings. If we have the revised drawings this week, we can ratify it next Monday. If not, we will hold it until we receive those drawings.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay. For the front, would the council rather have a shrubs in the front or a fence in the front? Or it does not matter?
Shrubs in the front is better. The fencing in the rear is the best.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Got it. I'll make that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ben.
Okay, moving on, Ms. Faith.
All righty, calendar
Thank
number
you.
21-109 at 3912 East 155th Street. Rita and Jesse Davidson, owner, proposes to establish use as a residential facility for
Wait, hold-
6.
We reading the right one?
Yeah, I don't have that on my agenda.
Yeah, we're at 21-111 West 10th Street.
All right, well, I had it on my agenda. So, never mind.
Are we missing a case on here, Liz?
Yeah, because I don't have that case either.
I don't have it on my agenda.
What's the calendar number again, Ms. Faith?
21-109.
I must have sent out a draft to you. That's not on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm just happy I didn't miss one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought I was crazy. Okay, good.
All right. All right, moving on then. Calendar number 21-111 at 2563 West 10th Street. City House LLC proposes to erect a 2-story frame single-family residence with a detached garage in a B1 2-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. All those that are going to make statements for calendar number 21-111, I am about to read the oath. Please raise your right hand. I'm going to read the oath. Following that, you will respond with I do, your name and your address, stating it one at a time for the recorder. Here we go. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Graydon Petznick, 3342 Avalon Road, Shaker Heights.
Is there anyone else?
Only from the owner architect side, that's it.
And then I do Donna Gregonis with Tremont West Development Corporation. Thank you.
Is that everyone?
Believe so.
Okay, great. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. History, Ms. Kukla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the Records Administration Office from Building and Housing, found a permit was issued in 1979 to demolish a one-family dwelling. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No milk house this time, huh? Okay. Legal standard, please, Ms. Wagner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the maximum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Maurice, summary?
Madam Chair, this is a relatively small one. We only are looking at an area variance.
That's what I thought. Okay. All righty. So Graydon, are you speaking in behalf?
I am. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Chair. And thank you, Mr. Rulans, for queuing up the set. Shauna Rutherford is the owner and created the LLC which purchased this long vacant lot. She's the CEO of a nursing company, and she got called out on emergency rounds this morning, so she sends her apologies for not being able to attend. Shauna engaged our architecture firm to design an infill small house on this existing long vacant lot. And it's located just south of Lincoln Park on West 10th Street. Site location's right there. Mr. Rulans, if you don't mind, the next slide, please. The house is actually rather small. We designed it as a 2-story house with a basement. And compared to the neighbors next door, our lot has been shortened by a previous plot consolidation by 12 feet. And per the code, we're limited to 2,010 square feet of gross floor area, which when you look at the first and second floor and compared to the neighbor to the left and we're only 1,760 square feet on the first and second floor. But rather than expand the house, the owner saw the potential of finishing out a basement, which many people do in the city, finish out their attic, finish out their basement to achieve more square footage without adding on or increasing the mass seen from the street. But that strict definition of maximum gross floor area, when you add the finished basement to our 1,763, pushes us over the 2,010 we're allowed by the.
Yes, that happens a lot. So we're used to that.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure it's very common. So that is the reason we are here. We did not want to increase the house. We've had very favorable comments from the Block Club, the Economic Development Committee, the CDC for the design of it. The owner's very happy with it right now, and we're hoping that the design, as you see on the next couple of slides, and the massing meet the intent of the code.
Have you been to design review?
Not yet. We're Mr. Moss right now.
Okay. All right, great. Donna, I told you I won't forget about you this time.
Thank you. Donna Grigonis, Neighborhood Development Director for Tremont West Development Corporation and Ohio City Incorporated. So Graydon and Shauna did go to the block club, and I did send in a letter that they wrote in support of the variances sought. So they are in support for the plans, and they are allowing for the variance of additional square footage. So this was unanimous at the block club, at the Auburn Lincoln Block Club in Tremont. And then additionally, the Economic Development Committee of Tremont West Development Corporation is in support of the variances requested as well. And everyone had positive things to say about the development. The only thing that did come up as a concern was asking if they had met their neighbors, but that wasn't a stipulation to the acceptance of the variances. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that to remind them to talk to their neighbors before they keep going. But I'm sure they have, but don't want to speak for them. But again, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board.
Thank you, Donna. Great, and just write that down. Make sure that Shauna goes to talk to her neighbors. We can't enforce that here, but just wanted to make sure you got that. And also, due to the emergency of Shauna having to go away, great, and make sure that she submits a notarized letter to us saying that you could represent her today. Just so we'll have that on the record. But I think we lost him. Great.
He's still there, but we lost his video.
Yeah.
You lost me altogether. My apologies. I just logged back in. So I think the last thing
Technology is wonderful.
Madam Chair asked was if we'd gone to design review, and we sent an email to Mr. Moss, but we have not done that yet. We plan on doing that afterwards.
Okay, well, you missed the glowing review from the CDC. So you did get approval.
Thanks,
from the
Donna.
CDC. They just want to make sure that Shauna introduces herself to her neighbors. So just add that as a note, as well as because Shauna had to leave, that we need a notarized letter from her saying that you can represent her today. So as long as we do that before next week, you know, we'll
I believe that was submitted in the application. If not, I've got a paper copy I can send to Ms. Kukla.
Okay. Ms. Kukla, do we have that?
I don't see it. Oh, wait. Yep, there it is. Got it. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Scratch that great, and we don't need it. Okay.
Great, thank you.
City planning?
Yes, Madam Chair. Normally, and I'd like to state this for the record, normally we don't recommend approval on a project that has not been to design review first. But because there's such a minor variance here, and I don't see any comments that design review would make that would affect any, add in additional variances, we're in full support of this project.
Thank you. Board, any questions?
When will they go in front of design review? Do we know?
Hopefully at the next opportunity.
It could be later this week, or it could be next week.
Okay, great. I think these are pretty standard variances and minimal, Madam Chair. So I think we can go ahead and make a motion on calendar 21-111 to approve these variances.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please, Ms. Kukla.
Ms. Barnes.
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Calendar 21-111 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have calendar number 21-090. This case was postponed from June 28th, 2021. This is at 1317 West 74th Street. KCMMS Holdings LLC owners propose to erect a two-story wood frame single-family residence with an attached garage on a 2,244 square foot lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. Just as a note, the first postponement was made at the request of Councilwoman Spencer to allow time for further review. All those that are wishing to make statements on case number 21-090, I am about to read the oath. You'll be asked to raise your right hand. At the completion of the oath, you will reply, "I do," with your name and your address, one by one for the recorder. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do. Steven Ciceretto, the architect, 270 Park Place, Chagrin Hills, Ohio.
Thank you, Stephen. Next.
Owen Flanagan.
Mark, the builder, 2578 Progress Park Drive. So
Can you repeat your name, please?
Casey Marks.
Thank you, Casey. Next.
Mary Elliott.
Oh, God.
Mary
I do.
Elliott.
Jeff Kovac, 1316 West 74th Street.
Thank you, Jeff. Next.
Mary Elliott, 7302 Herman Avenue.
Owen Flanagan, 7308 Herman Avenue.
Matt Shield, 1225 Andrews Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio.
Is there anyone else?
Adam
Yes.
Davenport, City Planning.
Thank you, Adam. Anyone else?
Sue Clement, 7406 Rutledge Avenue.
Anyone else?
Did you get me? Did you get Mary Elliott in there?
Yes, Mary, we got you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, is that everyone done? Great. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so this is a postponement. We already had the history. So legal standard, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area and rear yard requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There, we did not have any testimony at the last hearing, so could I just read the history into the record really quick?
Oh, I didn't realize that. I wasn't here on that day. So go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. There's been no change to the zoning since 1929. I didn't find any records in the Building and Housing Records Administration Office. There are no variances on file and nothing in the Acela system. So thanks, Madam Chair.
All right, so there was no history actually. Okay. All right, so we have a lot of people that need to speak. I want to remind everyone that we are here for 2 variances and that the testimony needs to be right to those 2 variances. So I will ask for the spokesperson for the project to speak now, and we'll go down the line.
Yes, my name's Dan Linder. I'm the attorney for the property owners, and I'm just kind of here to quarterback it, if you will. Steve Ciceretto is going to carry the ball right now. So Steve, go ahead and take it away, if you will.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This project, we're looking to construct a new single-family residence on an existing lot record. Basically was designed as a 2-story frame structure, 3-bedroom home. that has an attached garage and parking on that parcel for in the garage and on the drive for 2 cars. It's a very small lot, and so we're pursuing the same variances in a way that you just heard from the previous lot. We're allowed, see, our building structure is 1,760 square feet, and we're allowed to build, I believe, 1,120 square feet. This plan shows the dark property lines. There is a discrepancy in the side yard depth. We had some old records that showed it as a 55-foot lot. In fact, it's 54.3, so it's about 8 inches shorter than what's actually shown on this drawing. That's why, if we could go back up, Mr. Rowland, to that first survey, that's a little more accurate. You'll see on the sides, it says 54.32, and the blow-up detail has it a little bit more accurate. So we'll be looking to build within 6.3 feet, 6 feet 4 inches of the rear property line, and then sort of the standard lot variance or lot coverage variance for the home itself. We have been through design review housing subcommittee, and it was unanimously approved. And we have visited the block club twice, actually, once with a few comments, and then with the immediate neighbors, expressed concerns about the demolition of those trees that you see marked on this site plan, which in the survey indicate that they are on our property, and would be removed during this process. Now we can kind of shoot down the page a little bit, and you can, down the documents, we can look at what it looks like. Here, there you go. It's a very traditional home that's very similar to the homes across the street and in the neighborhood. It has one unique feature is that there's a second floor deck area over the garage, which eliminates the need for an outdoor space in the back. We do have a little courtyard in the back for people to barbecue or family to live out there. It's intended to be sold to a owner occupier, and that's basically the story.
Thank you. I want to ask Ms. Wagner a question, since he has testified that there has been a change the rear yard dimensions. Does that mean we need to re-advertise this?
I think that the change is so minor in this case that it would not need to be re-advertised. The difference between 6.4 and 7 feet, I think you're in a position where nobody would say that's significant. Either you're opposed to it or you support it, but I don't think it needs to be re-advertised, especially since it's already been continued.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Okay, so
well, yeah, next, if I could,
yes,
I'd like to have the property owner speak a bit. We put forth a couple of exhibits. One's a spreadsheet and one's a number of pictures that talk about what is going on immediately nearby this property. My clients did a lot of research actually to see that other properties have gotten similar treatment to what we're asking for, which specifically addresses consistent with the intent of the code. So I don't know if Casey or Matt want to address that. Whoever wants to, go ahead.
how many houses do you have here to talk about?
Well, if we pull up the spreadsheet, I think that's an easier way to look at it.
Okay, that's quicker. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah, like we're not going to go through the whole neighborhood tour here. Okay.
Hey, Casey, do you want to do this, or Matt, do you want to do this?
I can go ahead and do it. These are houses that were approved in the last, I believe, couple years in that area for variances. and recently sold. So that's the extent of it. We just have precedent for this type of development.
Great, thank you. So do we have any residents that would like to speak?
Yeah, may I defer to Owen Flanagan? I do want to speak. This is Mary Elliott, but I would like for Mr. Flanagan to be able to speak first because I know he has time constraints.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Flanagan, go ahead and make sure you keep your comments to the two variances that are listed here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I oppose this development. I think the house would be extremely close to my property. It would be over towering, and because it would be a two-story home, would be boxing in my property and hurting the value of my property. And I also think that the trees, it would be destructive to the trees. The survey shows that they're on their property. But I think that goes in direct opposition of the Cleveland tree canopy plan. And then I also just would like to say that, I think from a neighborhood community standpoint, there's a lot of investment in the neighborhood of people who own these homes and really care about the neighborhood. And I would say that the developers have not shown that at all. In fact, one time I was weed whacking my yard and there was an older man taking care of the place, and he came up to me and he apologized. He said, "Hey, I'm sorry this house looks like this when you guys care so much about your neighborhood."
Okay, thank you. Who would like to speak next?
I will speak next.
And this is?
My name is Mary Elliott.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Long-term property owner in Cleveland, renovated many beautiful homes in the city.
What's your address, Mary, again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 7302 Herman Avenue.
Okay.
I also, my yard, which is abuts this property within 3 feet of my fence line of my yard. As far as the survey is concerned, there is no survey that has been done, a actual land survey, other than what those are properties that you're seeing presently owned by Mr. Marks. The one that you just showed with the vacant lot, that's on West 6th Street. They were given a variance to plant or to put a house there. That's what the second picture was taken on July 19th. Speaking to the lack of maintenance of Mr. Marks's properties that he presently owns and the current condition of those properties. But what I wanted to speak to ultimately is this particular issue as it relates to not just the maintenance of the property, which since Mr. Marks and his LLC that owns the property has taken over, has been a big eyesore to our community. He totally gutted the property without any permits. You can see a picture of people on the front porch roof, which is highly against code. You cannot have an open door and an open front porch with no railings, nothing like that. There is no effort to trim the bushes to this day. I had my fence line is to the north of this property. And as far as whether or not Mr. Marks and or KCMMS actually owns those trees is highly debatable without an actual survey. My fence is well within my property line. Therefore, that tree very well could be the 3 trees in question that would have to come down are shared by myself and Mr. Flanagan with Mr. Marks. They can't cut down the trees without our authorization. They're clearly on our property line as much as they are on KCMMS's property. There's been no survey done. They're basing their property line on the land survey that comes when the title company provides that information. So actually, the trees are mutually owned by Mr. Flanagan, myself, and KCMMS. As well, there's no room for grilling or anything else. 6 feet behind the structure does not provide any grilling. You have to be 15 feet away from a structure. So there's no 15 feet away from a structure to do any grilling, any cornhole, or any yard use whatsoever. Additionally, the problem with this tiny little garage space, or the area that is where the current tenants for 7312 Park, which is the property owned by Mr. Marks to the south, it is abutting this proposal. 2 people park there presently. The other 2 tenants park on Herman Avenue. Herman Avenue is constantly getting less and less street parking due to development along West 73rd Street, Battery Park development, ongoing pressures for on-street parking. My tenants at 7306 Herman have to park on the street. I don't have off-street parking for them. And as well, you know, the guests for this new proposed structure will have nowhere to park. You cannot park on West 74th Street. If KCMMS chose to try to add parking, they would be out of code for many ordinances, including the location of parking to be in the rear, to be 10 feet away from a wall. And so therefore, there really isn't an advantageous way in any way to add parking for the existing double. So for those many reasons, and including restating what Mr. Flanagan said about being right up against me and towering against my yard, which is my personal oasis to get away from the day-to-day activity in a very busy, loud neighborhood. It's just unfair to the long-term owner-occupant residents that have vested interest, that have put thousands, tens and thousands of dollars into our homes. And I have a lot of money wrapped up into my corner, which is my house, 2-family house, and this yard. It's substantial. And yes, it would devalue my home, my structures, as well as my ability to live peacefully in my own home. So yes, I'm highly against it. I do know that I've sent the board a lot of documents. Unfortunately, I could only get 2 pictures to load at a time. I apologize for that. But this is just an inappropriate thing. And I know that I have neighbors that have sent communications to the board as well. I hope those are read to the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Are there any other residents?
Yeah, Sue Clement. I'm the co-chair of the Edgewater Hill Block Club. I'm speaking in support of Ms. Elliott and Mr. Flanagan in their displeasure over this appeal. At the Block Club, we did speak a lot about the lack of parking and the fact that this new construction, while it may appear to be consistent with the other newer homes going up in the neighborhood, it really is going to be detrimental to the tenants, and Mr. Marks should be aware of that since he owns that property just to the south. So because we haven't heard of any other possible changes to this proposal, I'm here to say that the neighbors across the street don't care for it, even though they aren't here to testify. And there should be at least 2 other letters of neighbors on Herman Avenue that feel that this project should not go through. And I also believe that the councilwoman has also submitted a letter that I want to make sure gets read. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other residents?
Hello, this is Jeff Kovac at 1316 West 74th Street.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, I'm just also very concerned about this new building going up. With the look of the neighborhood and, excuse me, West 74th right there is very narrow. So when we're coming into our driveway, we always have to wait for people because they come up that where the Goodwald is. So it's a very tight area right there, let alone that, you know, there's an existing house, that White House in the front that's facing towards Herman. And it doesn't really make sense to try to squeeze in a house of that size into a lot that's just a driveway and a small backyard. So basically that's going to be like coming out that side and not match what's in the neighborhood at all. You know, it's a backyard of that existing house. So that's my concern.
Madam Chair, we have Ms. Kukla and Mr. Linder.
Okay, I
Also,
just want to
Eric,
make sure that I hear from the rest of the residents. So any other resident need to
Also,
speak?
Eric Goldblatt is my neighbor to the left of me on West 74th. He did send a email. I don't know if anyone got that one. It's kind of lengthy.
Well, I'll check with Ms. Kukla with all the letters.
Because I could forward that.
Okay, we'll double check and make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other residents? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I received 3 opposition letters via email. One of them is from Eva Alicia. She says that she's a resident of this neighborhood for over 25 years. She's very concerned about the new attempt to put a house in a driveway of 2 homes that already suffer from parking. The trash of the last project they did was all over the neighborhood for weeks. We all see when we walk dogs, the absence of some cleaning up during and after the projects at the point has been unsafe. Please see about their detail. There is not enough room to make or have a house where they need variances. The next is from Naomi Worthington. She lives on Herman Avenue. And Eva Alicia also lives on Herman Avenue. She lives at 7301. And Ms. Naomi lives at 7309 Herman. She says she's unable to attend, but she's writing to express her concerns. The 2 requested variances are ridiculous. If approved, the proposed structure would be squeezed into a lot that cannot truly accommodate it. If allowed, the proposed variances would create a structure that is inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood, decrease the value of immediately adjacent properties, send the message that neighborhood is not meant for residents, but for outsiders to make a quick buck. Whatever short-term income might be squeezed out of that property by forcing an inappropriate structure onto the lot would be at the expense of the longer-term value of the property in the neighborhood. She says again that as a property owner, 25 years, she opposes the requested variances. And this one is from a person named Adam. There's no last name or an address. He says that the neighbors on Herman Avenue and surrounding blocks have seen many changes with new infrastructure, new housing, and an influx of new people rapidly changing the makeup of our neighborhood. With these changes, we all sacrifice something different: calm traffic, ample street parking, litter-free streets, lack of sound pollution, and so on. Alternately, we have witnessed the destruction of the tree canopy, a drastic rise in dangerous drivers, higher taxes for homeowners, near constant construction, and an increase in petty crime. The outsiders, it may seem all positive, but certainly has not been for many of the residents of Edgewater Hill. With that said, the rezoning effort for the parcel behind 7312 7312 Herman benefits absolutely nobody in the neighborhood or anywhere close to it. It does not reflect the density and the layout of the neighborhood. It directly inconveniences the closest neighbors and decreases street parking, will further deteriorate the tree canopy. There's more to this email, but I think those are the most important items that I found in the email. And then finally, here is the letter from Councilwoman Jenny Spencer. Says she has scheduling conflicts today, and she is submitting this letter as she's aware of the community concerns related to the proposed project. The developer met with the community twice, first at the Block Club meeting May 10th, which most neighbors immediately impacted by the project could not attend, and second at a small community meeting on July 19th, 2021, which was attended by numerous neighbors immediately impacted by the project. Many questions have emerged about this proposed single-family home, and multiple touch points with the community have been necessary. While she is generally supportive of infill housing, she asks that the Board of Zoning Appeals take resident feedback and concerns into consideration during this deliberation. She does not know whether the proposed design can be altered in such a way as to require fewer variances. Many residents have concerns about the lack of on-street resident parking, which the developer may be able to address through design adjustments. There are also concerns that the owner does not have a strong track record of responsible development and property management. KMS required 7312 Herman Avenue adjacent to 1317 West 74th in September 2020. Till recently, 7312 Herman was not registered through the City of Cleveland's rental registry, and it appears that no permits were pulled for substantial rehab of the property. This type of negligence should not be condoned. Thanks for your consideration. Regards, Jenny Spencer. That's all that I have, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, may I?
No.
Yes. Adam is Adam Jenke. He that wrote the letter. He lives at 7306 Herman, and he is my tenant since 2011. He uses my yard frequently for fun and enjoyment. The pictures you're showing, for the most part, to the left, upper left, that's my fence. And to the right is that tiny little driveway that you're seeing in the proposed. So most of what you're seeing is my efforts of long-term landscaping and maintenance. And, you know, so just so you understand who did send the letter.
Mary, thank you, but you need to be called upon to speak. So
Yep.
Thank
yes,
you.
I just wanted to let you know who Adam was.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So Dan, I'll give you the opportunity to respond to this.
Thank you.
Briefly though, because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of tit for tat here, but just overall give a, you know, your response.
Understood. Not my first rodeo on this one. This picture is a perfect picture to be looking at right now. I appreciate you putting this up, because if we look directly across the street, there's 3 homes, one on top of another that are exactly of the nature and type that we're talking about here. Our lot's larger than those. Our lot's more spread out than those. And the design here, as Mr. Ciceretto pointed out, has parking built into it for the residents who would come into this property. With all due respect, everybody else here seems to be, the biggest complaint seems to be about off-street parking, and also seems to be about the idea of new people coming into the neighborhood, which is not a valid reason to stop somebody from building a house. We believe that the development that we're requesting is explicitly consistent with the code, that the property itself does, you know, and the other point, by the way, is we have an old tired house there now, which is now going to become a nice new one, which is going to be owner occupied or sold for owner occupied. It'll be single family, and it's a good property, and it's what the city of Cleveland needs more of. We believe we've demonstrated all the elements that are necessary for the variance, and we hope you'll view it favorably. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone here from the CDC? No one? Okay. Adam Davenport.
Good morning. Yeah, I don't think anybody here is from the CDC. So a couple things, and feel free to ask me questions too about how we think about some of these things. This parcel was in existence well before the county started keeping online records. So it's not some situation where this lot split was approved by Planning Commission and now it's coming to BZA for variances, right? This was an existing parcel long ago. We reviewed this through our Housing Design Review Committee. The house itself is very much akin to the neighborhood. It's got a full front porch. It's got a gable roof. It would blend in nicely with the surrounding houses. It would also be smaller than many of the surrounding houses as well, that are in some of these photos along Herman, along Goodwalt, etc. And it also manages, even though the depth of the lot is only like 54 feet, it also manages to adhere to our garage placement code, which is which states that the parking needs to be in the rear half of the lot. So amazingly, this house, in my mind, conforms to a lot of neighborhood design kind of standards, and manages to do it well despite the extremely small size. If you wanted to build a house that was more code compliant, you would probably have to have like a 700-foot one-story house that would look really at odds with the rest of the neighborhood surrounding it. You could probably not build a completely code compliant house at this location, essentially. So the 2 variances that we're called to question today, the floor area ratio variance, which is a common variance that this board grants, but I think in this case, even more so acceptable because of the small lot area itself, and it's a relatively small house compared to the average number of square feet we usually see on the list. And then the rear yard, I think, although it being also a common variance that this board grants, I think in this case, what is more important is how the house fronts the street. So it's got a full front porch. It's set back a little bit to conform with the existing conditions along 74th. And the little space that is in the back for the future owner, I think is good and acceptable. I think you want to more focus on the front area of the street. So those are really just the two variances in question today. You know, situations about parking around the neighborhood. You heard a resident talk about how there's no off-street parking for one of her tenants. I personally think, you know, as a fairly nearby resident as well, anecdotally, that there's a good amount of on-street parking. I drove by this location this morning. There were 2 cars in the vicinity of 73rd and 74th along Herman. There's a number of empty spots always on 73rd. Yeah, anecdotally, I don't think that's a problem. You know, if somebody finds that the owner's house doesn't have the one on 73rd at the corner of 74th and Herman, sorry, that KC MMS Holdings owns, if that's a problem, then they would just not rent from them. It's not like an economic issue in my mind that we are creating a hardship with that in the future. So I'll take any other questions, but that's the majority of my statement. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So just right quick, we did hear a couple of people. It is a lot of anecdote data happening here, but we did hear some people talk about this house would be towering. So I just want to make sure that I'm speaking correctly, that we're not getting a height variance today. So the house is already in conformance with what the code has for height already. So I just want that to be on the record as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's definitely well within the range. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And the gross for Dan, the gross square footage that is exceeding here, is that because there is basement, a finished basement?
Steve is the right person to answer that, actually.
Okay.
The footprint of the house is 850 square foot, and the second floor above it duplicates that. It's a little bit larger because it builds out over the garage a bit. So there's an unfinished basement underneath it that wasn't calculated.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you. Okay, board, any questions, comments?
I did want to confirm, has the lot been professionally surveyed, pinned in state or not?
Yes, it has been actually surveyed, and it's in process, but that survey, Miss
Dated
Elliott.
this week, yeah, dated July 21.
Yeah, it was just recently completed. Miss Elliott was referring to a location survey that we discussed over at a Block Club meeting or recently, but this is in process, and this shows a lot of the questions they had about whose property the trees are on, that would be removed, those kind of items, clearly on the KC MMS property.
So the professional survey, the pinning and the staking is in process. When do you expect that to be completed?
Casey, do you know if that was pinned already?
Steve, this is Casey. I can speak on it. The only thing we're waiting on is the location of the sewer. That's one of the few pieces that's missing there. We're just waiting to get back from the utilities department the location of those, but everything else in the survey is complete.
Has it been staked?
It has not been staked or digging yet, no.
Okay.
So it is going to be staked.
It will be staked.
And
This is an actual survey that's just been done, Ms. Faith.
so at the 4 corners, or are we doing any intermittent staking along the property lines where the trees are in question?
they normally stake the four corners. If you would like them a mid-stake or something, we could absolutely have them add that.
I think it would be prudent to stake where the trees are in question so that the lot line is clear for, to avoid any dispute.
Agreed.
Yes.
Now, can you submit the survey plan to us before we ratify?
That is the plan. Is that what you mean? Or you mean the staking, or this is the actual survey?
Right.
So it shows
Yeah, the
that-
actual survey is on the screen now.
Yes.
Right, but the staking and the pinning.
Yes.
Okay.
This is.
We
Sorry.
can't add, yeah, I was gonna, so go ahead, Lori. I know what you mean.
Right, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I have tried to raise my hand. I don't know if it was seen. I just wanted to make a comment for the benefit of everybody, the neighbors, the applicant, the board. This is a lot of record, and therefore the property owner does have a right to build on this property something that's consistent with the zoning, which in this case is a single family home. That does not mean that the board has to grant the variances that were requested. But they do, the question of whether something is built there or not built there is not really, it's not a valid question because they do have a right to build there. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Lori.
May I speak? Madam Chair, may I speak?
If you're gonna say something new, Mary, but we're about to go into, voting here, so.
Yes.
Are you gonna say something new?
It's in response to what was stated as it relates to adjacent properties. Mr. Kovach pictures that are shown of his yard, which has lots of frontage and lots of rear footage. It's incorrect to suggest that there is any, maybe on West 6th Street when you're on an alley, but there is no consistent situation in our community that has anything like this kind of tight property line. I also want to speak to the fact that it was commented that we are afraid of in our community or against new people. Wow, that's very belittling to our, our intelligence to suggest that. In that, I've lived in this community since I was 19 years old, and I've owned property in this city, lots of property in this city. My concerns go well beyond a new neighbor. It really relates to this structure and this particular property line. And honestly, I would hope that the board considers the fact that all the neighbors around this property are opposed to it. If this board grants the approval for this developer to do this, he doesn't lose anything by not building this structure. He already purchased an undervalued two-family structure for $150,000.
Okay, Miss Elliott, we don't deliberate on those things here at BZA. We just talk about the zoning variances. So I don't want to get into personal.
I just
what
hope
people paid for and all that kind of stuff. So please keep your comments to the two variances that are listed. But I don't want to hear about anybody's business on what they bought and how much. And so.
Okay, Madam Chair, I apologize. I just do want to say that really this has nothing, this does benefit one individual, Casey Marks. The rest of us are going to be suffering from this variance. Everybody that spoke is doing so because we truly feel you are going to hurt the value of all these owner-occupant tax-paying Clevelanders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, Ms. Faith, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, with respect to the comments from the community members and the residents, we've heard testimony also from city planning and testimony from the councilwoman whose letter has been read into the record. Our statement by the attorney also points out Ms. Wagner also points out that this is a parcel that has been on the record for years in its existing condition. And it is within the right of the property owner to build a structure on this. The city planning has noted that the height of the structure is well within the guidelines of the code. What we're looking at are 2 variances with regard to gross floor plan and with regard to the depth of the required backyard. City planning has stated that the backyard is sufficient, and precedents have been set for similar sorts of situations, as well as the gross square footage is a variance that we typically see, particularly in certain neighborhoods like this within the city. I would request that the property owners please submit the survey and perhaps some photographs showing that the lot has been staked and pinned, particularly with regard to the trees that are in question by the neighboring residents. With all that said, I would move that we go ahead and approve these variances for calendar number 21-090. Is there any further discussion from the board on this case?
I have none, and Ms. Barnes just second. So, Kukla, call the roll, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just like to state one thing, that this would be also noting or recognizing that there's been a revised final site plan submitted, showing that the rear yard is actually 6.3 feet. So I will call the roll. Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Calendar 21-90 is granted conditionally. We will hold it pending the survey drawing as well as photos showing that the parcel lines are staked midway and also pinned. And we will hold that for ratification until we see those documents.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our cases, Madam Chair. If you'd like to go to old business.
Yes, I would. Ms. Kukla? All right, 1 through 3 without objection, board?
Without objection.
All right, then we have an affirmation here. Let's see. Oh, okay. So this is court, so I guess we'll grant it. Without
right.
objection, board.
Without objection.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. I can return to my vacation.
Yes. Enjoy yourself, Maurice.
Hey, Maurice.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for helping me out on that project I have.
Yeah, but we never got to talk.
I know. It's moving along nicely though. So
Oh, good.
we can chat